Welcome to This Week in Jump, number 15. I'm Turo.
And I'm Ryan. And this week we'll be going off of my list.
Yep. And we've got another new series. Oh my goodness. So we have yet another new series. We knew we were going to get a couple new series with Hellwarden Higuma and Neolation leaving. We thought we filled those spots with Hachimaru, Samurai 8, and
Double Taisei.
Double Taisei. But we're getting a third edition now with Beast Children. We'll be going over that in detail. But first, what's on your list?
Actually, number 18 is Beast Children. I was kind of not impressed with this.
Really?
It might be because I just read Slam Dunk and it was so good.
Okay.
It was pretty much perfect. I'd never read it before. This is an introduction chapter, and the main character's art design and eyes bother me. He looks... I get it's supposed to be... It's ironic. Beast Children. He's supposed to look like a beast. Like, haha. And it's a rugby manga. I don't typically read sports manga, but I don't mind them. Like, usually I can find something interesting in them. And it's about the camaraderie and then being the underdog and overcoming that.
Yeah.
I find that interesting.
Also, I think rugby is a very big sport. I have a friend who she did women's rugby and could easily trample over the toughest people I know. And she went to national championships. Rugby's a devastating sport. They don't really have padding.
It's like football, but with no pads.
Yeah. Imagine people slamming into each other like on a defensive line for football, making the same noises except zero padding. The sound of bodies colliding like that is unique. It's very unique.
That's a very solid thud sound.
Yeah. And with how brutal this is, I think it can get some people who weren't really into it. I was getting, because it's very similar, I Shield 21. I wasn't really into football, and I liked
Do you want to liking it?
I liked how simple they made it feel compared to national like the National Football League.
So, yeah, with this, I was like, It was mainly the art that like kind of threw me off.
Okay.
I like how gritty some of it looks, and in certain panels, like you'll see an image later on in this video of what I felt was like the best drawn panel, and it's probably maybe the same in your opinion. I'm getting ahead of myself. Going back to actually like what's going on in the issue, the chapter 1, it introduces this rugby player. Apparently, in this world, rugby is like the biggest thing. It has like it's like on par with like the World Cup and the Olympics. So you have a main looking guy who's just like, my son is going to crush the world someday, setting up kind of like as the Gold Roger of this manga. And then you see a kid, his eyes are unnerving. They're so large in this 2-page color spread. I don't mind his design. It's just the eyes are just huge. And then the second image of him just reading a magazine,
staring at your soul.
Yes, it just is unnerving. But in other panels, it's not so jarring. There's some where he looks like when he's a kid, he looks more normal. But as a teenager in high school, he looks completely different.
I think it might be the dark circles.
Yeah. It's like he has like double,
like double irises.
Yeah, it just
like one large white one and then another darker one inside.
Maybe that's what it is. But I don't mind the Mangekyo.
His friend is just black.
That's
with,
fine
with white.
That doesn't bother me. It's just
that
doesn't bother me. When he's wide-eyed, it just So he's so absorbed in this magazine that he actually doesn't notice that class has already ended. And so his friend is like, hey, we need to go to club. His friend doesn't want to be in club. He's in soccer, and he's in rugby. And he would rather just go home and play video games, but he apparently needs to be in it. I'm assuming so he has extracurricular activities on his transcript.
It might also be mandatory for some high schools
Oh, to be in clubs.
to be in clubs.
I'm in the going home club.
Yeah. There are actual schools that do that. You
Yeah.
have to join a club. That's why you see some crazy number of like cheer squads at some schools, because everyone has to be there. The ones in the stands are family members.
So we find out that he's the only member, but they share the space with the soccer club.
Yeah. He's kind of short, doesn't take up much space, and he only needs one ball, so why not?
Mm-hmm. And the other people are like, "Oh, it looks painful." It's like, well, people bleed and bones are broken, and
Yeah, like
makes it nonchalant.
it hurts.
So they go out, and he pulls out an old magazine clipping of his master. We see it's the same guy from the beginning. I think up to this point we haven't been told what his name is. And then they go out to the field, and he's just practicing kicking the ball. And his friend is tired and is like, "Hey, maybe you should let me join you so that way I can just chill, since we'd be the only two members. We can't actually play a game."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'll even let you tackle me."
Yeah, like I couldn't tackle you.
Not seriously.
Not
anyway.
seriously. Because if he loses himself in his magazines. If he's losing himself in an actual skirmish, he might do some real harm.
Yeah, depending on how much he's been training his body physically.
Yeah.
And then we see a flashback of when he first found out about rugby. It was just a coincidence that his dad was given tickets.
Mhm.
And they went to a rugby game, and he was immediately entranced by just the crowd and how everybody was reacting to the plays that were happening on the field, and then just the collision and the force.
Yeah.
I could see how it would be very enthralling. I mean, you're a young kid, you're very impressionable.
Yeah. Also, who doesn't love a bunch of crowds? Everyone is literally cheering for the same thing. You have to just let yourself go with the flow at that point. Even if it's not something you're particularly interested in, you'll still enjoy it. Just the
Osmosis.
the mob mentality.
Yeah.
I would say, and we get a name for his master,
Onotaru.
Icky.
Yeah. So he doesn't notice that he's too close to the railing as he, I guess, went down to the
Yeah.
very edge of the stands to get a better look. Falls forward and falls onto the field. But
He walks on over the master.
Iki. Mr. Iki. And he's like, "Oh, that's okay, kid." He's like, you got sucked into the game so much.
Yeah, it's all right. No need to cry. Just laugh it off. People get hurt. People bleed. It's kind of what happens in rugby. Crash into each other. That's what makes rugby rugby.
Yep. And he's like, "Well, I'm not that big." He's like, "Yeah, well, doesn't matter how small or big or fat you are." He's like, "Just come and find us. We'll be here." And then he runs off. He's handed back to his father. And then they leave. But he wasn't able to play rugby with anybody because I'm not surprised by this. There is no rugby team in elementary school or in middle school. So he wasn't able to play with anybody.
Also, even in middle schools, in the United States, they won't let you play full contact football. They make you do flag football. And that's not as fun. And I'm sure discourages some people who actually want to play in that same realm. So we can kind of see how distraught he is with that, but not giving up, practicing by himself. But when you practice by yourself without anyone really teaching you how to do it properly, you're going to get a rugby ball through the face when you kick it straight up.
Yeah. It's like trying to catch it. I'll catch it with my face. That's fine. No big deal. And in this regard, I kind of felt like he was a more isolated Hinata
Yeah.
from Haikyuu, because, in Haikyuu, he actually was able to get together a team. They weren't all very skilled,
Yeah.
because they didn't really
But
practice,
he had friends.
But he had friends to actually play it with.
Sounds like this little boy has one friend.
Yeah, which his name is Sora. He basically gets into his own zone and is concentrating and focusing, and his concentration is shattered by a person running by. And
With
the
the
person,
ball.
Yes, and how he's holding the ball is similar to how a rugby player would be holding a ball. And so he decides to kick the rugby ball at him.
Uh-huh.
And he tells him that he's sorry, and then he's like, okay, well, look, I'm going to show you how to do it properly. Kicks it, and then catches it perfectly. He explains how to catch it, which is to catch it like you're cradling a baby.
Cradle a baby.
The shape of the ball makes more sense to catch it like that.
Yeah.
And he calls him a rugger, which is like denoting that they're a rugby player.
Mm-hmm.
And his character's like, fine, I'll tell you my name. It's Yukito, who is the Kageyama of this franchise.
Yeah.
Or for Slam Dunk fans, it's Rukawa. Like I said, still fresh in my head. And he's like, oh, well, let's play. And then he's just gone. Then the next day, it's raining. And... sorry, I didn't even tell our main character's name, Sakura. And he's just sitting there with his hands on his face. And he's like, oh, I want to really play with him. And then he starts describing him, and his friend's like, you mean like that guy behind you? Because there was a person dropping off papers.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, actually.
It's
and
Yukito. Except he's wearing glasses and
Mm-hmm.
looks very proper with his school uniform.
And then Sakura begins to pursue him.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, and then just runs away.
Yeah, I love that he's chasing after him. He walks away and then goes into a full sprint. But facial wise, just staying like,
straight.
stoic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get away from me.
He catches him on the stairs and said, I'd never play rugby with you.
Yeah.
And apparently while they're rushing by, they went past a guidance counselor,
Mm-hmm.
but the guidance counselor gets distracted by Sora, who asks them a question and is like, hey, I have these questions. That way they're able to not get in trouble
Yeah.
for running in the hall, which they look more like, at this point, they're just walking really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But Sakura tells him that my master said these words of crashing into each other is what rugby's all about. And Yukito's like, I remember hearing those before and I hate it. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, and he's shocked because this is a guy who was taught me like some basic things about rugby and was running like a rugby player. How could he hate all of these things? Like his mind is going back and forth whether he's good or he's bad or any which way.
He died on the field. So it's confirmed that he is dead.
Yeah.
Mr. Iki. And he tells him, don't you dare talk bad about him, because he calls him a colossal idiot for dying, because he was always risking himself more than he had to for plays to make sure that he was able to do what he intended to in the play.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells him, fine, we'll meet after school in the same place that they were on the side of a river. And they decide to have a game of tag. And it's in a 5x5 square with a 5-minute rule. If he's able to tackle him, then he considers it his victory.
Yeah.
Of course, it's still raining, so the grass is wet and it's getting muddy.
Like you're never going to win. Even in this somewhat small space, there's so much room for me to maneuver. You'll never be able to give me a good tackle.
Well, in that space, he's like, oh, well, it's so small. Surely I'll be able to do it. Sakura is thinking this. But after a while, then his friend sees him, and he gets interested, and he goes down and starts watching what he's doing, and he's like, oh, that looks like fun. And despite the area being small, he starts noticing that it's actually rather large, considering that he's able to, Yukito is able to, like, dodge rather easily with little movement. It's almost like the wind.
Yeah.
But this entire time, Sakura's having fun because he's actually being able to try and tackle somebody seriously. And he's like, I'm going to focus. I need to be stronger. And then he's trying to figure out a strategy, but he's like, thinking about it won't help.
Yeah.
I just need to try harder and just focus as much as I can.
Let your body instincts just have at it.
And there we go into the whole beast idea of him being like a beast.
Yeah, his animalistic impulses.
Yeah. Think of it as like a super low level ultra instinct where your instinct takes control. Sorry for the Dragon Ball reference. I just couldn't think of anything else to compare it to off the top of my head. And so his friend is continuing to watch, and he's getting more and more enthralled with what's going on. He tries tackling him again, fails. His body's starting to feel heavy. I would assume that constantly tackling and falling
and
sprinting would take a toll on you, even if it's in a small area.
Yeah.
And he's from the sideline. Sora's just cheering him on as he keeps trying and trying. And the ground's getting worn and getting more muddy because they're running on it with cleats.
So there's a misstep.
Yes.
By Yukito.
Yes, Yukito, and he's not able to dodge in time. And he's like, "Wait, where'd he go?"
In that moment that he looked away,
Yes.
the rugby player got into a blind spot and just much
Sakura
lower
went
to the
super
ground.
low because he's short.
Yeah.
He uses height to his advantage to get him on his right leg.
Yeah.
And this was the panel and image that you'll see is this scene here of
the
his
detail.
foot in hyper detail. I think it looks really, really good. And then the actual scene of him tackling.
Yeah. A lot of effects went into that paneling. It really does make it look
It
like
emphasizes the impact.
Yeah, like the impact and the force that even small boy like forcing someone back like that.
And then the sun comes out, and it's an extraordinary impact. And he falls to the ground. He's crying with joy, and the timer just runs out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I did it." Yukito's actually really frustrated with himself and walks off and is just cursing the entire time. And he just leaves Sakura there on the ground.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but Sora comes, picks him up, and takes him away, and he asks him...
Like, what did we learn?
Yeah, and he's just like, "I had fun. I learned that I need to do this, and I can be better. But it was really fun to tackle somebody. It actually felt good."
Like, I'm happy for you. Because, that's what friends do.
And it's at the bottom of the page 53 where it shows the three of them and each like side by side, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be a team together. Like Sora's going to change from being a soccer club member to being a
Rugby player. That'd be neat.
And you have Yukito looking at the sky saying, "Did you really teach him that? I need an answer." And I'd already assumed that he was the son, but you get an official confirmation by Sora looking it up and seeing that he is the son of the late Onotaro Iki.
You could say that the first paneling, they made it so that the main character is going to be the son, but no, similar in the vein to One Piece, where at first they set it up kind of with his hair
that
to be
Gold Roger was going to be... Luffy
Luffy's.
was... Yeah. Luffy was his kid.
Yeah, but they did a small misdirection there with Yukito. It's nice. I put this quite a bit higher on mine, just because I gave it the benefit of the doubt to be more like I Shield 21.
See, I didn't read I Shield 21.
Okay, fantastic. I love it.
I need to read it because it has the artist from One Punch Man.
Oh, really?
He was the artist for that one.
It's great. It has great, hilarious art.
Next on the list is number 17, We Never Learn, chapter 112. This chapter felt more like an inconsequential chapter. That's why I put it severely low. I probably could have put this last, but the eyes bother me that much.
I didn't have a problem with the eyes. They were fine with me. But we never learned.
Uruka is eating a spicy ramen. As such, she's starting to sweat. And she conveniently forgot that she was going to be going to Nariyuki's today. And we all know what happens whenever you eat spicy food. You sweat incredibly profusely.
Yeah.
But if you're wearing a dress shirt, the student ones are usually the clear white shirt.
Yeah.
That's always the trope. And true to form, her shirt is soaked. So she's covering it up by wearing a coat. And she keeps saying, "I'm just cold."
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to get close to him because she thinks she might smell bad.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, do you want a drink?"
Makes piping hot tea.
"We have this in the wintertime."
Tea.
In my notes, I actually put, she puts on more of her warm armor. puts on a scarf.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm good. He's like, are you still cold?
Meanwhile, she's literally burning up.
Yes.
It's just she's sweating so much more. She needs to put on more clothes because what she's wearing might seep through even more.
And then he adds a hot water bottle, which is meant to keep her feet warm, legs.
Give her a blanket.
And then
a humidifier of sorts.
Yeah, I was like, is that like just like a teapot?
It's a humidifier. It's a humidifier.
I couldn't tell. Like, I don't use humidifiers. So
and
it's getting
dun dun dun
even warmer. So she armors up and puts on mittens and
earmuffs.
Earmuffs. I don't know where she's getting these from. Like, she just has them with her at all times.
It's not winter, is it?
No. It's
like,
not.
why would you have all of this on her?
At least I don't think it's winter.
Yeah. I was like, and Nariyuki's like, here, have this.
And he pulls out heat packs.
Here you go. And it's just literally burning her up. So much so that he's getting heated up as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's made it humid and it's hot.
Yeah. And
so she's starting to get dizzy, and then she starts to unbutton her shirt, and then it's revealing her.
Like, no.
And she's like, wait a minute. Nope, I have it very transparent.
Nariyuki, oh my goodness.
He is the master of saying things that can be misconstrued.
Yeah.
But
take your clothes off, Haruka. They're like, huh? I'm like, undress and get into my bed, quick.
I can't remember if I pulled this image or the other one. I pulled one of the two where he says this, so that'll be up on the screen right now.
Oh, it's great.
I was just like, oh no, what are you doing, my man? And he's just like, his intentions are good. He wants to get her out of her clothes. That way she's not stuck in sweaty, wet clothes.
Yeah.
That way she can get in bed and just cool off and, be warm but not too warm.
Yeah. He just thinks she's really sick. Needs to remove the constrictive warm clothing that's obviously making her sweat, so that she can just relax. She can just regulate her body temperature without any outside sources.
Yeah. So she just starts undressing, and then his younger sister Mizuki comes home, as she's like already disrobed for the most part, and he's just confused, like, what? And then he looks down and is like, what is going on?
Yeah, your white blouse. Don't look.
The youngest siblings immediately know what's like, oh crap, Mizuki's gonna freak out.
Oh,
she's already transcended. She's dead for a second, and then she's like, what are you doing? Uruka saves Nariyuki from a fate worse than death, and is able to
say the truth.
Say what is actually going on. And she's like, oh, I knew you wouldn't do that. And so Nariyuki gives her some clothes, so that way she can actually leave in proper garb. I guess it is winter because their clothing.
I could see, maybe.
But you can't.
It's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell.
It's hard to tell because the seasons change so much. Well, Japan is colder, isn't it, than the U.S.? But their summers are. I don't know.
Depends on where they are.
Have they established what region they're in? I think they have in like the beginning, but I don't remember.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've definitely said the prefecture before.
So she's like, well, I just didn't want you to dislike me for smelling. And she's like, well, he's like, well, I would never say that. I would never dislike you.
Yeah, that's silly.
And he's like, so, and then he starts saying, oh, you misspelled a few words, and she's blushing, and she's like, repeat what you just said. Oh, you misspelled a few words. Not that! And then the next day, her friends are like, hey, I'm ready to go try the spicy ramen. And she's like, not again!
Similar to the supernatural ghost one.
Inconsequential to the overall plot. Cute and funny and slightly ichy. It's a good chapter.
Yeah.
It gives you
nothing
taste.
Really for the overall story.
No.
So gets a lower place on there for me as well.
Next is number 16, Yuna and the Haunted Hot Spring, chapter 160.
I think I found out that I just don't like Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. I put this thing so low so many times.
I find it hard to put it higher. The arc where they introduce the fact that Yuna was a person before, and she's just like
a
They've been trying
deity
to
now.
they've been trying to recreate her
Uh-huh.
the entire time. That was like the peak for me with this series. I like the character design. I like everything about it, but the overall story just doesn't hook me that much. Like I still like it.
I got you.
It's like it's a harem manga.
Yeah.
What?
I've read some harem mangas that were pretty damn good.
There are some that are pretty good. This is just a average one, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, not to bash on it, but I would say probably my favorite one was Love Hina.
One of the most popular ones, Monster Musume.
Monster Musume is more like the adult harem. Like this is slightly below. This is shonen harem versus seinen harem. Like
Okay.
Monster Musume is seinen harem because it shows pretty. It is one step away from being pornography.
Okay.
It is one step away, and the only thing it's missing is inertion. So that's why I say this is a shonen one, which is like a tier below. Like there is 3 tiers of harem.
What about
manga.
Tenchi Muyo?
I like Tenchi Muyo.
That was still considered a
Yeah, that's a harem. Every series that has a guy protagonist and like multiple women, like Saber Marionette J, is a harem. Like Negima harem.
Yeah, Negima. That's a great one.
That's a good one. It's a good one. Like it does a similar thing in the fact that like you have magic instead of spiritual power. It's
Yeah.
like that. But that one is also done by Ken Akamatsu, which is the person who did Love Hina.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So he already had experience with that, and then he had one before that, which was called A I Love You. So he had A I Love You, Love Hina, Negima, and then the most recent one is UQ Holder, which is a continuation of the Negima timeline.
Oh, yes. I've read that one. Then dropped off. And then started it up again. Then dropped off.
It's monthly. I haven't read it. I was going to reread Negima at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm trying to do the Gintama Gauntlet.
Oh, ooh.
I've read 5 chapters of it today.
So, anyways, back to Yuna.
Yeah, you can cut all that out if you want.
No, I'm leaving that in.
Oh my God.
That was good.
So, Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs, chapter 160.
They got back from their training, so his spiritual power has increased ever so slightly.
Yeah, he's equal to a low-level Chuma ninja, according to Urakata, who has the tech to view that and see that, basically scouter him.
Yeah.
And they all say that's basically impossible. They're like, oh, well, if that is possible, let's do the training then.
Yeah, like, so what did you have to do? Like, that means I have to give you all massages, and you all have to give me massages.
Well, they misunderstand, and they think that, well, Sagiri and Hibari are like, let's go. Has to be a boy and a girl. And, of course, he's the only boy there.
Yeah.
Other than... No, wait, is Cat God with them?
Cat God's with
Does he,
him.
does
He's
he
right
count
there.
as a boy? Does he count as a boy?
I thought Cat God was a girl.
Cat God? I thought Cat God was a guy.
Mm. It's a cat. Like
Gender doesn't really matter, but
It's a cat.
It's a cat. So, I'm not really going to describe the next 4 pages because that is just lewds for the sake of lewds. Yeah, Naruyuki massaging them. Then he gets drained, obviously, because that's a little bit overstimulating.
A little.
Okay, a lot. I was being generous.
Yeah.
So, Yuna devises the plan of giving them spirit armor because now they are all able to actually activate it.
Yeah. They're able to withstand it in their bodies without most likely crippling them.
And she's able to do this by giving them crests. And all they have to do is focus on that crest, and then they'll be able to activate it. Hibari, being impulsive, decides to activate it. And it doesn't exactly activate in the way it should. It only partially activates.
Yeah, it gives you the same armor that you normally would have of high tier female armor in any MMO. Like, that's how much they're wearing.
Yeah.
And how actually effective it is. So
more armor, lower armor value, less armor, higher armor value.
Yeah.
Alright, there we go. Let's just put this to max. And it's at this point that we find out that the youth spell that was cast on them, the one where they've all been reduced by a third of their age, is actually a form of spirit armor that Nadare-san actually put on them. But he put it, like, I guess on the inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if she were to try and remove it and blast it away, it would actually kill them because it would kill their body.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure.
But then you all can be ghosts just like me. Yay! Together forever.
Oh god, no.
It's not that dark. Not that dark.
No.
Yet.
No. No.
Yeah.
But Togarashi's like, can I get one of those spirit thingies? And she's like, well, no, you can't because you're a spirit medium, so it'll probably screw up your body, and it's dangerous. She doesn't know what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's supposed to be like something that maybe they would like last resort do at like the end of this arc, or if they just set it up as an idea that you shouldn't do it, period, and they won't do it.
So would Yuna possessing Kogarashi not be a form of spirit armor?
No.
Okay.
Because when she possessed him, she was actually outside of him.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering, like, was she acting as the spirit armor, or was she just...
I think
still just herself?
Herself, but it was like almost like he was being channeled. He was channeling her.
Okay. Trying to understand these mechanics in this world.
The way I looked at it was that it's almost like she was his stand.
Okay.
Except he was the one fight. He was like his stand. It was like Jotaro fighting instead of his stand. Like she was the stand, but the stand just stood there instead of fighting.
Yeah. Sounds like Yuna.
Yeah, she looks pretty. It's all right.
Yeah.
She's not dumb. she has all of this random knowledge, and I'm just like,
yeah, good luck trying to put it together.
Okay. And so he's like, my master. That's why she never gave him this armor set. And she's like, yeah, that's why Oga never did that. But he has something that could be used at that, and it's the Magatama stone that he has, which has the current Kogarashi's power. And he can tap into it because he has the same ripples of his spirit power.
Ripple. No thanks. I've already got one. Anyways, how is he on the ISS?
Oh, how is... He's not on the ISS. He's on a regular satellite.
Okay.
ISS would be much bigger.
Alright. Fair enough.
Not...
Why is he still in space?
Nadara-san is almost like in a spirit form. That's why his hair is all wispy like that. So why wouldn't a spirit be able to go into space? They don't need oxygen. Sorry to point that out.
It's all this.
And he's up there because he's trying to observe and see if he can find out where Yuna and them ran off to. And he actually sees the crest symbol appear, and that's where because they're getting their material and everything from the world, from somewhere. And he has these two assistants with him, and he's like, all right, well, we found them, and we know that they're getting stuff from this world. And then we cut back to the inn, and there's an intruder. Now, since they do not show the intruder, you don't know if it's them, or if it's somebody else.
It's going to be the Oni mangaka.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't know. I thought there were three possibilities. I could be Oga somehow back from the spirit realm, the Oni siblings, or Nadara-san himself.
Is that his master? Kogarashi's master?
Oga?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it could be any one of those three, or it could be another person entirely.
Yeah. It can't be the villains. No.
I would assume it's not the villains, but I don't know. We don't know.
Alright.
And obviously they still haven't mastered their techniques, so they're still trying to activate their spirit armor. It's still not.
Good luck. You have 30 seconds. Master this.
Yes. Next on my list is number 15, which is Yui Kamio Let's Loose, Chapter 11. How's that compare with yours, good sir?
You know, Yui Camille is always a little bit better for me.
I know, but the other week it wasn't. That's why I was surprised. You're like, I don't like that they're just delinquent girls.
Oh, right. I didn't like the mini.
And then
I
the
didn't like
mini games. You didn't like the mini games.
Yeah. So Yui's just cleaning up the school. You know, it's rotating duties. No, normal stuff. She then gets introduced to a upperclassman, I believe. The president of the Keto fan club, which apparently exists. And
I thought the same
she's
thing.
a nice looking little girl, but she's got like she's got a cape, like a cloak, a black cloak over her that just makes her look really like a delinquent. But with that face, it's hard to tell. Something's off with her. So it's like, oh, I don't want to be part of that fan club. Like, I'm fine. Like, oh, okay.
Well,
Like we know you got super friendly, so we just wanted to make sure.
Yui was more interested. It was the other girl who was with her that was kind of apprehensive. She was like, that's a little weird.
Saying no on behalf of both of them.
Yeah.
And Yui's done for the day, walks out, and she gets
chloroform. And she wakes up surrounded by
cloaked individuals wearing school uniforms
for the Keto fan club.
Yeah. And this fan club is so that the head honcho Koyagi can be the boyfriend's.
And they say married. They say straight up married. They're like, skip boyfriend, go straight to married.
Yeah. Like, he is going to be for me. I will be for him, no matter what. That's our life legacy.
And there's a couple girl archetypes in here. You have the standard bookworm who has the glasses, and you have the delinquent who's tall and looks very angry.
Yeah.
And Yui's just really confused as to like why, and she's like
Kito's
really popular.
Yeah, and he's more popular than I thought. I thought he was just like, just a regular boy. Even though, if you paid any attention to Kito, he is not an average boy. Nope. You've been to his house, girl. Like,
that's a mansion, yo.
Right, so they're apprehending her
so that she can't run.
Yeah, so that they're getting a lock of her hair
and nail,
DNA of her, and she starts brewing this up as a witch. Cloaks make a little bit more sense now. This is very weird. Cut over to Kito. He's wearing a hat that just says equipment.
Because he's cleaning.
Yeah.
He's the cleaning ninja.
Yeah, he's cleaning up the bus of
former principals.
Yeah, like he's actually very nice. Like, yeah, I would not expect someone like him to do that.
Yeah, it seemed a little out of character, but I guess it's him showing that he's
appreciative of them. Like, oh, didn't know he had that side to him. And no, you haven't seen him disrespect teachers. You haven't seen him like on purpose cause trouble like that.
Yeah.
He's not a delinquent by any means.
But you can still be apathetic or indifferent to your school and be decent to the teachers and faculty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess it's because we're from America. You don't clean the classroom really. You just make sure your desk is clean, and then you're I don't care. They have janitors to clean everything else. They don't have janitors as far as I'm aware of in Japan. They have the students clean everything, right?
Oh, I mean, in Pokemon, they have janitor. The janitors have character class.
I've almost never seen a janitor mentioned in any manga. I don't know if it's in real life, but in every manga I can't think of a janitor.
Yeah, Kito's cleaning up and thinks he's done. Finds a box on the ground with wrapping paper that looks like ghosts are haunting it, and it's a little note that says it's from Yui. She made cookies, and my hard work paying off. And he eats the cookies and feels a little weird, and sees Koyagi, but his vision blurs, and then he sees, oh, it's Yui in white. and she's
I just
much
finished-
taller.
Thanks for the cookies.
Like, and she says, "Oh, why don't we go, on a date?" And I was like, "Huh? What'd you say?" Like, let's go, and she presses up against him. Like,
And then they're just walking together.
yeah. Normally, Kito would be speechless and might freak out a little bit, but I think he's realizing, like, oh, maybe his hard work is paying off, so maybe he can be a little bit more relaxed. But he's still very confused on what's going on.
And they're being spied on by the members of her group,
Yeah.
the Kito fan club.
Why not?
Well, you actually see like snapshots later because they have a camera,
Uh-huh.
and then you have the panels as the like Polaroids, and he's about to start eating, and she's like, "No, say ah," and she starts feeding him like a child, and then you have like the first Polaroid where it cuts to like reality, and you see her feeding him, and he's just like, and he just like is so thrown aback by how she's acting because she's acting very forward. She always
Yeah.
acts very bashful.
Yeah. Like, the only time she's really that forward in Yui in white form is when she's genuinely interested or she's doing something that's kind of fun. When she's like, oh, like, when Kito said, there's a bathroom over there, you can take a shower. And she was like, okay. And then she was just very nice, like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and take this so that I can dry myself off, and then I'll be back.
Yes.
When she put him on her lap, like, that's very, very forward, and that made him pass out.
Yes.
So
Dead
this
naps.
is so weird.
So he fell on the ground, and she's like, here's this to clean yourself off. And then you have the snapshot of it was her skirt.
Yeah.
And he's just like, ah, and has a nosebleed and freaks out. And then she actually starts to get annoyed with how familiar he talks to her.
Like that they're maybe closer than friends.
Yes.
Whereas in reality, they are just friends.
I could see how somebody who'd be jealous of them would think that.
Yeah. So she tries to...
Press against him again.
Yeah. But she's putting herself in danger because Yui is very well endowed and
Not so much.
she's not as much. So obviously he's thinking something's not right.
Secret weapon.
Yeah.
Lipstick.
Lipstick.
And then he gets obliterated. It looks like he's being destroyed by a divine being.
Yeah. And it leaves us off with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, he's about to be kissed by her, and then Yui's just unconscious
Yeah.
on the ground.
Just unconscious. Like, not really even tied up very bad.
KO'd.
I sure hope one of Kito's friends shows up and it's not Ebi that will save him. I would be really surprised if she stole Kito's first kiss and she became more of a recurring character without her groupies.
They kind of establish these characters as, like, they'll return or they'll come back later, so it is possible that she'll always be, like, this looming presence.
Yeah. In Food Wars, you have the witch doctor lady who was cooking
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
black squid
Yeah.
pasta, and she ends up doing the same thing to Arena, and then the secretary after. So
Number 14, Double Taisei, Chapter 2.
I'm glad this is a little bit higher. I'm liking this series.
I am liking this series too. I like the elements in this series. I'm trying to think.
this particular chapter. This particular chapter didn't hit as well as the first chapter, but I can see where it goes much further in and gains some more substance.
Yeah, you have Tai looking over the game that had previously been played and saw that Sei had won, but he was just like, I lost to Sei. However, we do find out that Sei ran out of time when he was in possession of the body that they share. And they actually say that it was a disastrous move, but they're like, why are they even saying that? It was a glorious move. It made perfect sense that he was going to win with it.
Yeah, they can't, and it's good that they said it like that, because then they're not expecting as much of him when he has enough time to be faster.
Yeah. And Sei actually got really irritated with that.
Like, so you're saying I would have won?
Yeah. And Tai says, I hope he really wants to keep playing. Kaneda says that I'm going to encourage him then, and we'll see if he comes back to his usual ways. And then he reads the paper. It says a disastrous move, throws it on the ground. This is obviously Night, Sei.
Yeah.
And he's like, screw you! And he's like, if there's a time limit, I'm not interested in playing it because the shogi I play that isn't the shogi I know.
Yeah. Because they take a day to make a move. Like, the games that have played between these two brothers takes days.
Time.
Yeah. They played, what, 28 games together in their lifetime?
29.
29.
Plus, this would actually be 30, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and then he also points out that if I won against Tai, then a pro-level player is nothing compared to that. So he's pretty arrogant, but he's rightfully arrogant because he's very talented. And then we see that the next day is the second day of the pro qualifier, and Tai is going to be playing against a person named Juso Haga.
A guy who looks like he's wearing a restraining jacket, sane asylum.
That's almost word for word what I put in my notes. I was like, he looks like that, and then but they're not actually restraining his movements. It's stylistic. It's very gothic, and his makeup reminds me of how Misa Amane stylized herself from Death Note.
Definitely.
The eyeshadow, eyeliner, lipstick, ear piercings, even to the choker style stuff makes me think of that. It's very, I guess, modern gothic. I don't know what style that is. Leathery.
Yeah, but
and
he's a player.
Yes. And he apparently is referred to as like a perfect copy. He can copy games, and he asks Tai, "Hey, do you want me to copy that game and play it again?" And so he reproduces it move for move, and he gives up. He forfeits. And the judge is like, it didn't even take a minute. But there it says a minute 29, so I have no idea what these times mean.
I think time left. I think it resets your movements, I think, to 2 or 3 minutes a move.
Ah.
So that whenever you hit it, it resets the timer and starts the other person's.
Gotcha.
So that when the opponent hits theirs resets and goes to the opponent's.
Gotcha. So he feels he's utterly defeated, and then he begins choking his choker tighter.
Yeah.
And swearing.
Like, huh.
I'll remember this and get revenge.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll remember that. What's your name?
Yeah. Like, that's the first point. Someone asked me my name. Like,
but I thought they said his name. I guess he just didn't remember it, because they
yeah.
had like an announcer thing that's like, Juso Haga.
Or maybe he wanted him to introduce himself,
formally.
Not someone else.
Gotcha. And Tai's just walking up these stairs onto this bridge, and not far behind him is Haga. He's writing in his notebooks, obviously writing to say about what happened today. And then he gets closer and closer.
And tries reaching out to him, maybe to talk a little more.
That's a straight up push. Initially he acts like, what, no, and then his eyes in the next page look like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He did it either split personality similar to Tai and Sei, or something like that, or he's just,
or because the emotes right there, thud thud, is kind of they most likely are saying doki doki for like the heart beating so rapidly.
I thought it was for
I thought it was his fear that he didn't mean to do this. I think he did this on accident.
I thought so too, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was the thud of his body falling. Because, like, that's a long way to fall.
Yes, it is. But that's a lot of blood.
Yeah, that's like a head wound. Because, I mean, he's wrapped up with bandages when he wakes...
Yeah.
When Sai wakes up in the hospital and he's like, what happened to my body?
Yeah.
Tai, and then he falls back asleep. And then you see the image from the first chapter, but with modern... With how they look now.
Yeah.
And it's a
They're
similar
saying-
image of them being in the womb as
like
teenagers.
Like, Tai, are you okay? Like, it hurts. Like, what? Tai?
And then a orb starts originating from the umbilical cord that's on Tai, and then there's a bright light. Stays blinded. Then he wakes up in the hospital, and Kaneda is there, and his mom, and they're saying, Tai,
Yeah,
are you
but
okay?"
it's Sei. Like, this is the son.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And he says that, and this was the day that Tai disappeared.
Yeah, like, dude, that's huge.
Yeah, it's... There were other things I felt very interested in that happened this week. Particularly, basically, the top 10. I could have put like the from 5 to 10 in almost any order, and it wouldn't have changed much.
I definitely feel like that as well this week.
Because it was... See, the only downside to having a ranking list is that it makes things seem like they're trash if they're at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's closer to like saying... That's why whenever like you see movies and it's... How can this person think that this movie is a 9 and this movie is a 9? They're not the same. It's like 9.001, 9.002. It's a minuscule difference, but you'll have a preference on one. And I would say that some of them are in like the decimal points as far as like difference in quality goes this week. That's like the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Like this chapter is probably at least a solid 8.5 for me on like chapter. I was like, for a second chapter, like the first two have been really good. They've been better than I would have expected for a new series.
You can listen to our opinions on the next couple of rankings in the next part. So stay tuned.